Welcome to Offscreen. This week we're reading Mute by Mike Johnson and Duncan Jones. When his girlfriend goes missing, a mute bartender searches for clues in the seedy underbelly of a near-future Berlin.
Oh, did you do any research on this writer or these writers?
There's not so much that I found about Mike Johnson, but Duncan Jones, as we said last time, is the son of David Bowie, but
Right.
also a pretty acclaimed director in his own right. He
Mm-hmm.
wrote and directed Moon, which is like a small sci-fi film from maybe 2000, about a decade ago, a
Sam
little less.
Rockwell,
Yeah,
who I love.
really?
Yeah, oh, he's great.
Is he?
Did you see him in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Plays the president of the galaxy.
I've seen that movie, yeah. I remember most stuff, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was in that.
Um,
Anyway,
yeah, so he wrote and directed Moon. He also made the movie Source Code, starring Jake Gyllenhaal?
yes.
Is that right?
I didn't even see it, but yeah. Jake
Yeah, I
Gyllenhaal.
did see it. It was pretty good. But
I think I read it, but I never watched it. And it seemed like a
You
cool
read
idea.
the screenplay, but didn't...
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
someone sent it to me.
Yeah, kind of
It's a fun premise. It's
Groundhog's-
sort of a live die
Groundhog
repeat.
Day. Yeah,
Yeah, or sort of a live die repeat slash what was the other title of that? Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. That was the official title, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And he has Warcraft coming up, a big
that's a big
studio
one.
movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Bit of a departure. But this apparently has been a movie that he's been trying to get made for a long time, so hopefully it's next for him.
It would be probably quite a bit of work, I feel like, especially compared to something like Moon where it's all extremely contained. This is like a sprawling future city.
Right.
Probably a lot of CG or like fake backdrops, or at least I don't know. Lots of outdoor locations.
Yeah, definitely the world building and atmosphere. It seems pretty crucial to the
There are
screenplay.
flying limos.
There's
for
flying
instance.
limos. There's a urban
Was it
farm
exclusive?
tower.
Was it exclusively limos that could fly? That was like the only ones that I think I ever saw, or I remember reading in the script that we see fly.
Well, I think they were like the newer cars, right? Because our main character, Leo, was driving like a 40-year-old
Right.
Bentley.
Right, just a regular
And
old.
he's like poor, so
Yeah.
apparently like the poor people drive.
But I mean,
Bentleys.
I just think that the only car I remember reading about flying was a limo.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, what was that? Say that silo thing again. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, there was like an urban farm tower. So
There's
it
just
was
there was just a cow chilling inside, looking out at him through the window.
yeah, this like really tall silo-like building.
Steven is a big fan of cows,
Well, it's my favorite animal.
and he happens to be wearing a shirt with many of them on it.
Yeah,
Today.
it's a Ben and Jerry shirt. It's pretty rad.
So your favorite scene? Was the cow?
Obviously, and I know that Leo and that cow really connected on kind of like a fundamental level right there. Primal,
Yeah.
indeed. But the comparison that we read somewhere was that this is Casablanca meets Blade Runner, and you can see how they arrived at that. It's
A little
bunch
bit.
of like expats
Uh-huh.
in a
I think that the Casablanca connection's a little more tenuous.
Right.
Blade Runner is definitely there.
well, you have a guy in a bar.
I mean, yeah, he's a bartender. It's a very
And-
different. It's a strip club. That's a little different.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's a lazy comparison, but it could have been a worse comparison. And I think
Yeah.
Blade Runner is maybe more true, kind of a vaguely dystopian,
And it has the noir sort of elements about it.
noirish depiction of future Berlin.
Yeah. Which is a good thing we mentioned that this is in the near future, because my summary did not mention that. Because it's actually not hugely important to the plot, I would say. It's sort of incidental that it's taking place
Well,
in the
you
near
have
future.
technology that we don't have yet on display,
Sort of.
and
There's
you have...
nothing, I don't think there's anything essential to this story that couldn't have happened in the present day.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
Anyway.
You want to jump into the synopsis?
Yeah, sure. When Leo was just a kid, he swam too close to a boat's propeller and it completely shredded his neck. He's been unable to speak ever since. Jobs are hard to come by when you're a mute, and so he works as a bartender in a strip club. The place is run by Russian mobsters. That's why when his girlfriend Nadira goes missing, she's one of the dancers, Leo suspects the worst. Determined to find her, he systematically fights his way up the mob's chain of command, learning some hard truths about Nadira in the process. For starters, she's more than a dancer. Nadira is a prostitute. This revelation proves to be a dead end, though, when one of her regular customers says she failed to show up for an appointment. With nowhere else to turn, Leo meets with Nadira's mother for the first time, and then comes the real bombshell. She tells Leo that Nadira actually has a daughter with one of the mobsters, a guy named Cactus Bill. He's trying to flee with their child back to the States, where he's from, but he doesn't want Nadira coming with him. By the time Leo has tracked him down, he's already killed her. Leo brutally slaughters Cactus Bill in return, only to be captured later by his partner in crime, affectionately named Duck. Duck is an unlicensed surgeon and takes the opportunity to try out an artificial larynx on Leo. Still, he refuses to talk, sparking a fight which leaves Duck dead as well. Instead, Leo saves his first words for Josie, his almost daughter, and now the closest thing he still has left to Nadira.
Nice.
Yeah.
Couple things.
Okay.
Cactus Bill and Duck aren't so much gangsters as they are like American. Well, Cactus Bill deserted from the American military.
Right.
From the army.
That's true, I suppose.
And
but
that's how he met Duck.
they're definitely working for the mob.
Yeah. They're working. They're like contractors for the mob.
Yeah.
Who they do surgeries for them. They remove bullets for
Really
from them.
gruesome surgeries.
Yeah. And the other thing that I don't think you mentioned
Uh-huh.
is that Duck is a pedophile.
Right. That was a bit of an oversight on my part, yeah.
Because that really feels like part of the stuff in the third act.
Right. He
Kind of,
actually tries to run away with the child at one point.
Yeah, Josie.
Yeah, Josie.
It's pretty fucked up.
It is.
So yeah, what are your thoughts?
How about we try this? Let's start with good things.
Okay.
What did you like?
I thought the world building was really satisfying in this.
Uh-huh.
It did drench the page in like seediness,
Yeah.
if you will.
I thought one of the best things about it was just the relationship, which unfortunately was brief, between Leo and Nadira. When they are together, before she gets kidnapped, they have some really good exchanges, which is saying something because he doesn't say anything. It's all just one-sided conversations because he can't talk. But it's still really effective, and it felt like they had a real connection to me, and there was like history there, and I believed it,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty amazing because she gets kidnapped very early. And in like the first, I would say, 12 or so pages, there was already this relationship between them that I felt was more powerful than a lot of like other relationships I've seen in screenplays that take the entire time to develop, and they still aren't as good.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe it is in part because he can't talk, and it forces him to be a little more visual. He's a little more vulnerable. He does a lot of like miming.
Yeah, but it feels like lived in, like something that they've kind of negotiated
with.
through.
Yeah,
for a
exactly.
long time.
I also thought it was really cool. They show the very first part of the script, the very opening, is him getting this injury when he's a kid. They don't show too much of it because I'm sure it'd be really gross, but they cut like immediately from that flashback to him getting the injury, and like he goes to the hospital and they tell him he's not going to talk again and everything, but then they cut straight to like the near future, and he's swimming, and I thought that was an interesting choice, and I think it says a lot about him. It's a good way to introduce the character, to show that he just had this horrible traumatic experience in the water that left him unable to speak for the rest of his life. And yet he still goes back to the pool, and that's a recurring thing. He exercises by swimming, which helps in the end. I think they were trying to set up for this fight with Duck at the very end. Duck is trying to like dump his body in a lake, and Leo manages to like grab him and take him down with him and just outlasts him underwater holding his breath, so Duck ends up drowning. So that was a nice payoff.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice observation you made, because it's a testament to Leo's like resiliency, I guess.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like the driving force throughout the screenplay for him. Like he is determined to find Nadira.
He's really stubborn, and like I would say that's like, yeah, that determination is one of the most salient characteristics of him. He does like the most absurd, but when you think about it, just really direct and like sensible in a way. things to track his girlfriend down. Like, he's given a phone number by someone at one point. He doesn't know who it is. The person just tells him, like, look, this is a phone number she gave me one time. This is, like, someone she knows. Maybe they can help. And he, like, actually finds a bunch of phone books, searches through them until he finds that phone number and then figures out who it is, which turns out to be her mom.
Right.
That was ridiculous, but, like, again, illustrative of his character. Can I also just mention?
Yeah.
I don't mean to monopolize this
no,
right
go
now.
for it.
The strange coincidence. Okay. His name's Leo.
Yeah.
He has a very bad throat injury. Do you think
Like
Leonardo DiCaprio could just take this role and, like, they could just get the same makeup from The Revenant? He already knows how to pretend that he can't talk and, like, his throat's messed up.
I think The Revenant is the best thing to ever happen to the screenplay.
Yeah, probably. Or at the worst, if it's too similar now.
I think you just take Hugh Glass out of... That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Take him out of The Revenant. Transport him 200 and something years into the future.
Yeah.
To Berlin and let him go.
This is like a reincarnation of the same person.
Right, and they're both single-minded in their pursuits.
Also, though, I want to point out, we just did Deadpool, which was also about a guy who falls in love with a stripper, she gets kidnapped, and then he just goes on a crazy rampage. And he's also mutilated.
It's a good point.
Right?
It's a lot of tie-ins here. Deadpool and The Revenant.
I'm gonna arrive at some formula, like, you know how scientists or, like, physicists are trying to come up with, like, the single formula that encompasses all of the laws of the universe and stuff. I'm gonna distill all of our scripts down into whatever that is for screenwriting.
Of course, then you'll sell it for like $2 billion.
Yeah.
I like the futuristic details too. Like, instead of shabu shabu, they had stimu, which, like, instead of dropping the meat in water,
sounded pretty. Yeah,
it's pretty wet.
So go ahead. Sorry.
You instead, like, cook it in flavored steam.
Yeah, which sounds pretty badass.
It sounds pretty badass.
I don't know how
like,
you flavor steam exactly, but
30 years from now you'll know. What did you think of the flashbacks?
Nope. No, thank you, please.
Right, because there's no rhyme or reason to how they're interspersed.
Right. There's...
Why are we getting the information that we're getting at this point in time?
Right. I couldn't put that together either. Like, did something happen that he suddenly realized? But I don't know.
There was nothing that clearly triggered it.
Yeah.
It's
a little convoluted, which...
Yeah. Well, it's convoluted when I'm explaining it.
No, I think it is, though. And I think we should get into some of the stuff that we didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one of them was, I felt like I didn't understand all of the motivations going on among the mobsters. Like, Duck kind of tries to betray Cactus Bill for reasons I don't fully understand.
I think Duck just wants to fuck shit up by the end.
Okay.
Or, like, throughout.
It's like in Kill Bill 2 where there's that guy Buck, but this time it's Duck, and he's like, my name is Duck, and I'm here to fuck. Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
His name rhymes.
I know the name rhymes, yeah. Except he wants to have sex with children in this movie.
Right.
So yeah, there's really no... I think that is kind of a problem. There's really no motivation for Duck to be doing that. And then a lot of stuff falls out of that as unintended consequence. There
were also, I thought, just too many scenes with the bad guys. It kind of deflated the tension a little for me to know too much about what they were doing. I still didn't really know everything, which is good, obviously, because it's supposed to unravel, but we just spent a lot of time with them, and it doesn't always amount to much. There are a lot of scenes where it's just like Cactus Bill and Duck talking about their schemes, and they're just like bowling, or they're just like at a cafe, and it's just like a thinly veiled occupation just to keep them busy while they get out a lot of exposition. That I think violates part of what film noir is often all about. You don't usually stray a whole lot in a noir from the protagonist's point of view.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that's a universal thing.
But this did it a lot. I don't know.
It did, yeah.
I feel like if you're going to do it, they should have just gone all the way, and we should have known everything and just waited for the protagonist to figure it out. If you're going to do it, commit to it. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Otherwise, what's the point? Just stick with your protagonist.
I'd say at least like 40% is from the point of view of Cactus Bill and Doc.
Yeah, like 40-60. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Which is, it seems like way too much. I have two unrelated points I also want to make sure that I mention.
Mm-hmm.
One is that the kid in this movie is basically just like a wooden prop, and I felt really bad for this kid. Her name's Josie, the daughter of Nadira, and I guess, I don't know how it happened, but like Nadira doesn't even see her own daughter really much at all. She basically lives with her dad, the gangster guy, or Cactus Bill. But he's just like constantly taking her around with him on like these horrible errands that he does. And she just sits there and she'll just be like drawing a picture in the corner.
Right.
And she like barely ever talks.
Well,
and...
I don't know that she does talk until the very end when she talks to Leo.
Right, yeah, I guess that was
which...
a thing. She's like mute too, kind of.
Yeah.
Whatever, like...
And then they talk to each other at the end, and it's kind of sweet.
That's nice, but she was just like... Yeah, she was like a prop, basically, to me. She didn't do anything that meant anything.
Well, I kind of think that keeping her around throughout the screenplay, it makes her seem more important, I guess. Which is what you need to justify Leo going back for her at the end. Or like wanting to
that's another thing.
Be her parent at the end.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's silent and he's silent.
Yeah.
There's kind of like a chemistry between them.
But also, that reminds me. So when he kills Cactus Bill, Josie is in the house. She doesn't see it happen, but she's in the house at the time. Leo just bounces at first. He's going to leave. And then I don't know what happens, but something triggers in him so that he turns around and goes back for the kid, but now it's too late because Duck has taken her.
Well, so it says Leo leans against his car. So he sees the picture of Nadira, and then he sees...
Oh, picture of Josie.
Picture of Josie, and maybe that's what motivates him to go back.
I guess.
Because you see right here, he just fucking slit Cactus Bill's throat.
Right.
And then he sees Josie at the table, and he says, not his problem.
That was unfathomable to me, though. Like, why would that not be his problem? That's like, I know it's not his biological kid, but like, that was ridiculous to me that he would just leave this kid at the scene of a murder.
Yeah, I don't know. And then some duck cactus stuff happens. How fucked up is it that Duck, like Cactus Bill, his like best friend, is dying in Duck's arms, and he like reaches out his hand for Duck to take, and instead of taking his hand, he reaches into his pocket, takes the key from the pocket, he takes his money, but the key to the door where his daughter's locked, and he's like, I'm gonna go molest your daughter now.
Yeah, he doesn't say that, but that's what he's gonna do.
No, but he says it's more creepy because
he actually does say something like, "Oh, she's a cutie" or something like that.
He says like she's a cutie, and then he alludes to a conversation that they had previously where Cactus Bill basically says like having sex with children isn't a game, bowling is a game.
Right.
And then he says something about games. And it's a callback to that.
That line reminded me so much of Walter in The Big Lebowski. There was a very specific line in here. I gotta find it. I think I wrote this down. Hold on. Yeah, so Duck is trying to defend himself for being a creepy perv.
He generally does surgeries on
kids,
like young injured kids, and he installed
hidden cameras
in the dressing room.
Yeah, so Cactus Bill finds out, and he's calling him out on it. And he's like, this isn't a game. Basketball's a game. Bowling is a fucking game, Donald. And he says, the moment you do something... he says something about you're going to be in a world of fucking pain. So Walter in The Big Lebowski has a line. He's talking not to Donald, but Donnie. He says,
right.
This is a league game, Donnie. And then later says the thing about... You're about to enter a world of pain.
Yeah.
That reminded me so much of that, but I'm sure... well, maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe it's a reference. I don't know. Speaking of references, though, there's, I thought, a really gratuitous reference to Moon in here. It's like explicit. It's not even just like a little Easter egg for you to discover. It's like in the background, it explicitly says that the character from the movie Moon is on the TV in this restaurant, and they're interviewing him. It's like part of the same fiction But there's like no purpose to it.
There's
to me,
no purpose to it, but that'll play on screen much less gratuitously than it reads.
Well, then I guess just don't write it in. Just know in your head you're gonna do that. I mean, he's making this movie himself anyway.
Yeah,
he
but I
wrote it
mean,
and
might as well
it.
write it in just so you remember A,
Yes.
and someone else might geek out on it.
I guess.
And be stoked. But it really adds nothing to the story.
Yeah.
It'll just be fodder for someone like 20 years from now to like connect all the Duncan Jones movies together.
Some grand conspiracy theory, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to?
No, nothing else really. There was one other like just quick image that I couldn't shake. It was just so bizarre. There's a part where Leo's tracking down one of these mobster guys, shows up, and in his apartment, in this guy's apartment, he has 2 sex robots. Which, am I mistaken, or were the robots having sex with each other? And if so, what is the purpose of that? Like, why would you build 2 robots just to have sex with each other?
I think they were having sex with like the air. Like they were just getting it on. There was no human there.
So presumably they were invented so that you could like step in and.
Yeah, I see. What he forgot to do was hit the off switch.
Okay, so
he left
before Leo showed up, he was doing these robots.
Yeah, either that or he got distracted and left his robots fucking.
That's like one of those things you're like,
I'm swearing too much.
You're halfway to work and then more. Oh, I forgot to turn the sex robots off.
Cut off my profanity. I'm sorry. I'm
no,
terrible.
It's fine. We have the explicit tag on iTunes now.
Yeah, it's true.
Whatever.
Yeah, it was weird. I just
wanted to throw that in. Should we do verdicts?
Yeah. You want me to go first?
Yeah, please.
There were some nice things in the screenplay, the world building, kind of the through line with the swimming. And I liked all the miscommunication stuff and how that was both subtly and explicitly implied. But overall, I just don't think it gets there, and I would pass on the screenplay.
And how about the writer?
I think there's enough here for me to consider the 2 of them. There's
okay.
With like a different story and a different structure, I like how they. I think they could write a good screenplay, a better screenplay. I basically like the details. I just don't like the story.
That doesn't go like a super long way for me. Yeah, it's really about the story and the plot for me, and that wasn't there. I'm passing on both.
Yeah.
The script and the writer. I mean, it was an okay read, but yeah, it's not really gonna stick with me.
No, the flashback stuff feels really lazy.
Amateur. That's what it is.
Oh, harsh. I won't go that far, but I don't know. I could be talked into a pass on both.
Oh, I was gonna say, all things considered, even though I am passing on both of these,
yeah,
I think one thing I'm learning from us doing this, I'm not holding writers accountable as much for the things that are bad about their scripts, because that's fine. There are always going to be bad things about their scripts. I think every time when a script is good, it's because of like little personal touches and things that make it unique, and you can't do that. Like, it's very rare, I think, that an entire script, everything about it is unique. I think usually the best you can hope for is for the things that are good about it to connect with you. I think what I'm trying to say is I'm not holding writers accountable as much anymore for the faults in their writing, and I'm trying to go more based on what's good in their writing.
I think that's fair. It's a nice way to look at it. You can always try to improve upon the faults in another draft.
Yeah, or like, I mean, I think I've said this before, but if you know that you're not good at certain aspects, like maybe you're not good at exposition, or you're not good at like scenes with lots of characters or something, if you have to do it, you just need to know those things about yourself, so you can just power through those scenes, get in and out as much as possible, and spend as much time on what you know you're good at. That's like a huge part. That's like 90% of the game right there, I feel like.
It's just maximizing your strengths and
minimizing
your weaknesses.
Yeah. Because everyone's got them. Everyone's got certain things they're just not good at.
Yeah. So I think that's why I like the futuristic elements. It was stuff that seems plausible enough 30, 40 years from now, whenever it is. and it was creative and inventive, and I kind of wish they pushed or made more of a theme out of, I guess, communication. I guess it is a theme.
There
but
was
they could have made a stronger like stance on that.
That's true. There wasn't much of a stance, but there was definitely
it was strongly
an
depicted.
emphasis. Yeah,
emphasis on it.
There's a lot of using phones, and Leo is. We didn't even mention this, but Leo is from a family that is, I guess, Amish or some iteration of the Amish now in the future, where he doesn't usually use any kind of technology. So at this point where his girlfriend's kidnapped, he's kind of forced to try and use. He doesn't even know how to use a cell phone. Really, he's struggling just to figure that out. But that was kind of an interesting through line.
Yeah. So there's enough stuff here for me to say these writers, I don't know, to have confidence.
Okay.
Going forward.
Fair enough.
So, you want to jump to next week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
Okay. So next week we're going to read a script called The English Speaker, written by Terrence Malick, but which most likely is not going to get made at this point. But it is based on a true tale of 19th century psychoanalysis. Anna O suffers from a strange condition which causes her to understand one language while speaking another.
Cool. Also, we now have a Facebook page.
Oh, we got to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
My gosh, I got to staple a note to myself or something.
It's okay. It's the one thing I remembered today. So
no, it's good.
Yeah, so we have a Facebook page now. It'd be great if you could check us out there. You can find links to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even like us. We're approaching 100 likes, I think.
Yeah.
Approaching.
You could be number 100. If you are number 100, we will
shout you out in the
not
podcast.
do anything. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we will.
Sure.
Why not? So that's facebook.com/ospodcast. Our website is ospodcast.com. Our email is info@ospodcast.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us on Twitter @ospodcast. You can find us on YouTube and SoundCloud as well.
And most importantly, iTunes.
Off-screen podcast.
Off-screen, out? No.
Yeah, either way.